Hello, Vineyard Tallinn family, and hello to anyone else who may be watching this. It's Raph, and welcome to Torah Tuesday. There's a mysterious story in the Torah, in the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verses 22 to 31. And it's about a man, Jacob, who has an encounter with a divine being. Jacob is going to meet his brother the following day, and he moves his family and all of his possessions to safety out of fear across the river during the night. When he was all alone, the story tells us that Jacob wrestled with a man or an angel or a divine spirit. There are multiple Hebrew words used to describe this being in the story, so we really don't know exactly what it is. The story then goes on to say that when this being saw that he could not overpower Jacob, he touched him on the hip and injured him. Even injured, Jacob will not let go, and he asks for a blessing. The being asks, "What's your name?" And he says, "Jacob." And then this man says, "You will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with man and have overcome." At the end of the story, Jacob now has two names and a limp. The word that we are going to talk about today is Jacob's new name, YISRAEL. Jacob, or Yaakov in Hebrew, means protector, but there's also a wordplay going on here, like a heel, like in your foot, and it became a way of understanding and interpreting his name as being a deceiver. You see, in the Bible, many times a person's name also has a part to play in their destiny. Names have a more significant meaning than just an identifier for a person. Jacob's backstory has multiple times where he's either deceived or is being deceived by others. Jacob gets this new name, YISRAEL, or Israel, after wrestling with the divine and with man. There's plenty of mystery going on in this story, and unfortunately we won't be able to go over all of that in this video. But I believe that there is significance to this name. YISRAEL is a land, it's a people, it's a person, and this all comes from that story. Jacob is one of the founding fathers of the Jewish faith. Their name, YISRAEL, means to wrestle with God. And if you read the stories in the Torah, the struggle is real. There's this constant wrestling between the people of Israel and their God. I have a personal story that I'd like to share with you, and I hope it helps us make sense of this word today. I struggled as a young man growing up. And, we didn't have much, but when my dad lost his job through no fault of his own, we had even less. And this really affected me in a way that I'm only now able to speak of it honestly. There was a certain shame that I carried when I tried to fit in with my friends. There was also some racial shame that I experienced being the only non-white person in my group of friends. This caused me to create an alter ego I called Ralph. And I made everyone call me by this new name. Some people still call me Ralph to this day. My real name is Raphael, but I had attached shame to that name. Ralph, he was strong, he was no nonsense, he was a tough guy. He was fun to be around. But Ralph was always a way for me to hide behind the shame that I felt just to fit in. He was a liar, not only to himself, but to everyone around him. This personality I created eventually became an alcohol abuser and a drug addict. At the lowest points in my life, I had completely disowned Raphael, and I only acted as this Ralph character. Then I had my own wrestling match with the divine. I remember like it was yesterday, February 1st, 2004, with drugs in my pocket, I asked this God that I grew up hearing about all my life to heal me. When I woke up the next day, all the desire I had for drugs was gone. I began to use the name Raphael again because the shame that I had also experienced was also gone. Interestingly enough, my name Raphael in Hebrew means God heals. That's pretty cool, right? So Jacob is the only character in the Torah who has his name changed, but is also referred to by both names going forward. And I believe that this is profound. He received the name YISRAEL because he wrestled with God and himself and became something completely new. But he always remembered who he was despite this life-changing experience. If we're to be like Israel, we have to learn how to wrestle with God and with ourselves to become that new thing. This is what it means to be the people of God. Jacob, he also has a limp for the rest of his life. I still have a limp from my past. Many of us will come out of this pandemic with a limp. Yet, that's not the end of our story or Jacob's. This will potentially be just the beginning if we are honest with our pains and our hurts and our fears and our struggles that we're experiencing. God wants us to wrestle with him and ourselves so that we can come out of this something completely new. God's not afraid of your questions, your hurts, or your fears. God actually wants to be in the middle of our mess with us. Jesus is a prime example of this idea. And, we live in this tension of the aspects of the already and not yet Christian idea of being on mission to be the people that pursues the healing of all things. That is going to take a people who can wrestle in the tension of what we see versus what we will be. YISRAEL is that kind of people. If you found this helpful, please like or share or subscribe so you can keep up to date on our daily words. You can also leave a comment below or maybe on our Facebook page. We would love to hear from you and pray with you. Grace and peace, family. And I pray that you would be like Israel and that you would wrestle with God and yourself to overcome and become something new. And we'll see you next week for Torah Tuesday.